I can see you and I can hear you.
Okay.
Let me get this on together.
Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Reco Chapple, and thanks for logging on to Talking Live with Reco. And today's guest, I have two of my most favorite people in the absolute world. One of my favorite designers, Sergio Hudson.
Hey.
Let me move this banner. You know, we're going to experience a lot of technical difficulties. So,
You
but you're with us.
You are okay. You doing better than I could.
Right, as we move forward, and I'm burning up, but these edges look like George Jefferson up under here. So this head ain't coming off. Okay, I pretty much met, it's been about what, 10, 11, 12, how many years?
It's been over 10 years because I graduated from college in 2005. I met you when I was still in college.
Oh, okay. And so we share the same best friend, which is Crystal. And I met Sergio at a photo shoot. Me and Crystal and a couple of models was having, and he was just sitting there all cool, and we shook hands, and it's almost like, I kind of feel like it's almost like we're family. You know, we got Crystal, and then his now assistant Charles used to be my intern and worked for me way back in the day. So we are connected in more ways than one. So give it up for Sergio. Yay. And in 2002, walking down the hallway at Brandon High School, baby, I seen this little big head girl. She was cute.
It was earlier than that, Reco, because you're a class of 96.
Yeah, but in 2002, I was in the ninth grade. Remember, I flunked to sixth grade. So, so you was a grade. You was in the 10th. I was in the ninth, and I was in beginning band, getting ready to start band, and I met Juanita Brown at the time. I like to call her Rochelle Brown. And we became inseparable.
Yes.
And so we fight like brothers and sisters. We took care of each other growing up, and even to this day, we take care of each other now. And I'm sorry, Sergio is a designer, and Juanita is an attorney and a world traveler. She's now currently living in Taiwan. And she has experienced the virus firsthand before any of us. And so when a lot of people was looking at,
I didn't catch the virus though. You have to clarify that, because everybody assumes like you had the virus. No, I did not catch the virus.
Right.
I'm just 80 miles outside of China, so we went through quarantine and all that way before everybody else.
Exactly. So you pretty much saw what was going on 2-3 months before it even hit America. Yes. And so when you guys was like, "Oh, Reco, you're so paranoid," this is why, because I knew that it was eventually coming to America, because I do so much business over in China, and it was a little scary for me, because I've heard, not necessarily seen, but I've heard of a lot of people passing away. So we just gonna get on right into the good meat and potatoes of this interview. And one of my main concerns of thinking everything that's going on in the world right now, what is really going to happen to Black fashion? What is it going to be a equal playing field? Are we going to finally stick together? Are we going to support our own people? What is really going to happen with Black fashion? So I'm going to start with Sergio, since you hold scissors, needle, and thread in LA. What do you think that would happen with us as a community?
Let me just say, I think. Well, let's go back. I think us as a community, it's up to us how we react to the situation. It's not up to the outside community, being, Caucasian or whatever. It's up to us how we react to this, how we take this opportunity to really take care of our own, or to really take a step back and to notice that not just in fashion, but in every aspect of the world and, entertainment and business. Do you have a Black attorney? Do you have a Black doctor? Do you have, a Black dentist? Do you wear Black designers clothing? And I think we all have to think, okay, am I doing this? Because the virus is affecting us the most in the United States. So what are we going to do to revitalize ourselves and not to pretty much disappear from the economic stratosphere? Because it's very possible.
Right. What about you, Juanita?
I totally agree. Absolutely agree. And my lens on fashion is limited in terms of just having clients who are in the fashion arena and then being a part of Dress for Success and being sort of a fashion philanthropist. But I think it's so critical that, as Sergio just said, that we really take the time to evaluate not only, like you said, from the fashion industry, but also just as individuals, as consumers. I've done several panels because my primary area is contracts and supply chain. And so I've done several panels, especially in London, about fashion sustainability and looking at your supply chain and who you're sourcing with. And not only about who we're wearing, but who we're consuming from, who we're buying from on every level. And it is impacting us the most. It didn't have to, obviously, from my lens. I'm here in Taiwan. I'm 80 miles outside of China. This has been going on for quite some time. And it's just really unfortunate. I don't want to over politicize or get overly political, because I think we're all seeing it. And there are enough talking heads that are delving into, we know what's happening. We know what's happening when we go to the hospital. We know the treatment that we are getting. We know the treatment that we're not getting. We know the fact that we are predisposed, more of us are predisposed to have certain ailments. I have asthma. My son has asthma. So it's impacting us. I think he's absolutely right. It's interesting to me because I started evaluating, okay, how are we going to lead ourselves out of this? Because we cannot wait for anybody to come down and wave a magic wand and say, okay, here's the solution. You have to lead yourself out. Okay, your city is open. Sit down. Lead yourself, because they don't care. And you are cattle. They care about the gross national product, the index, the stock market, but they don't care about us as individuals. So I think we have to lead ourselves.
So you made a good point as far as the correlation between sourcing and resourcing, because I know myself getting a lot of products out of China, from rhinestones to fabrics for Glamour World Fabrics. And it hit me too much before it even hit the United States. But I know you, Sergio, have your production in LA. Has it slowed you down? I know you use a lot of, we have our most favorite material, silk. Has it slowed you down? How has it hit you as a designer?
Well, I'll rewind back. So we showed at Fashion Week this year for the first time.
Right.
We had an amazing showing. A lot of people showed up. A lot of buyers showed up. We got picked up by Moda Operandi almost immediately after the show. And we had appointments with pretty much every, if you put in your head, the dream retailers that are designers want to be.
Speak to me.
Dream people like Bergdorf's, Net-a-Porter. All those people had appointments to come in and view the collection. after they came back from Paris. So,
Right.
of course, if we know the timeline, and when everybody came back from Paris, that's when we went on shutdown. So pretty much all of my buying appointments got canceled.
Mhm.
I literally lost every sale that I had, except for Motor Operandi. The sale had already went up before the
Right.
pandemic.
Okay.
So, we're in a place now where we're trying to pick up the pieces and to, really figure out how we're going to sustain. I don't really at this point know yet, but you're looking at the end of March, we were looking to have a 6-figure deposit in our account, and we had a 0 deposit put in our account. So when you anticipate 6 figures down to 0, it's like you're pretty much in catastrophic ending failure. The only saving grace that I have, which is what I feel like is going to save the smaller brands, which are normally the minority people, is we are already self-contained, which like my co-creative director is my best friend, Charles. My business liaison is my business partner, and those are really our only employees. I subcontract everything else out. I do my own patterns. I do a lot of the legwork myself, so I don't have a lot of employees to pay. So that's my saving grace. And to be honest, I've been struggling since I got out of college in 2005. So struggle is not foreign to me. So I feel like I can hold on to my business. I can hold on to what I have until this kind of blows over. And till we see what fashion is going to be after this. And just to be honest, I really feel like after this, it's going to go back to the same old, same old. It's just how are we going to
operate?
How are we going to? I feel like it's probably going to. This is just my hypothesis. It's going to start off. People are going to be like, "Oh, we're going to do stuff different, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that." But the consumer drives the business. So people still want to stunt. People, as long as some people have money and some people don't have money, the people with money are going to want to stunt, and the people without money are going to want to act like they have money. So people are still going to want to buy overpriced items at the end of the day. It might take a pause, but it's going to come back. So, but I feel like us as African Americans and minorities and small brands have to, it's going to be a prime opportunity right when this ends for us to get into those stores, to get in those boutiques that wouldn't see us before. But like if you watch the like Vogue, and they did this little series, and you have Marc Jacobs on there talking about he's not selling his last collection, and he's not selling the current collection. He's probably going to take like 3 seasons off. Him and Stella McCartney both said that.
Right.
So, they said
$400,000 on his last New York Fashion Week fashion show.
Yeah, and he can't sell the collection at all because he sourced all of his fabric out of Italy, and they're shut down.
Right. So Adrian Holyfield said, "How do we get back from that? Like, what is Sergio Hudson doing to get back from that? Like, how do we come back from that?" Thank you, Adrian.
Well, personally, right, what I'm doing for my business is we are applying for a lot of aid and help. But we did have the Motor Operandi. That's the only client that we kept through the pandemic. So it was a small order. People still bought because it was Motor Operandi. So we're working on that. I have private clients that are still planning on doing stuff. So that's kind of how I'm sustaining through this. I'm not really doing any of the other things that other people are doing, like making masks and all that stuff. I don't really have the time for that, or I don't really have the manpower to do it. I'm not sitting down to make masks myself. That's just not going to happen. I have too much other stuff I have to kind of figure out.
So Juanita, I want to talk to you about the mask situation because, so just to explain to you guys, before I make a move on anything, I've always pick up the phone and call my best friend. I say, "Hey, I don't know if this is a good idea." And I decided to halt out on the mask as well. What is the legal ramifications of designers like me and Sergio making these quote unquote masks that's going to protect you from this coronavirus?
Yeah. And when you called me and we talked about it, and I've been practicing law for 18 years. and primarily in contracts and supply chain and distribution and, product. And so I'm keenly aware and I evaluate product liability. And, especially having experience N95 versus surgical masks versus, you have various degrees of different masks that you can make. When people are relying on your product, I know that we're in a state of crisis and people are just trying to make it through and people are just trying to do the best that they can do. Depending on who you are, depends on the risk that you're taking in putting a product out there and saying, hey, use this to help save your life. My advice to you, because of who you are, your brand that you had for years, it's a different product liability risk consideration when you are Sergio or when you are Reco and putting forth a mask to say, hey, not just for fashion, not just look cute, but you're letting people or saying to people, use this to save yourself. And then the person wearing your mask ends up getting coronavirus, that mask fails. And then they're going to turn around and look back at the most popular person or the most known person, entity, business that they know of. They're not going to, if you get a box of masks from Walmart, they're not going to turn around and say, Walmart, this mask didn't work. Or if it's a woman on the PTA who decided to make some mask out of her fabric, they're not going to blame her. They're not going to look at her the same way they look at you as a business. And you have to think about, you have more to risk. Like Sergio said, he has other things to do, other things to consider, other things to think about. From a risk perspective, I think we have to be very careful, between a mask cover versus an actual physical mask that you're telling people, wear this to protect your life. And then you have some folks out here who, because we have so much information coming out of Asia in terms of how the virus works, the size of the virus, what type of mask you need, what type of mask doesn't work. When I see people putting rhinestones and that adhesive on a mask or piercing a mask with a Chanel brooch to be cute, and now you have compromised the mask, you have made a hole in the mask, you've put adhesive onto the mask, you're breathing in those fumes, you're wearing it. I don't think it's something that's smart. I do think that it's helpful for people to make masks for those who can't have access to them, because I also know that there's a shortage. From a business perspective, you as an entity, as a business, if you don't have to do that, you don't feel need or led to do that, I would advise against it, just simply because of the risk that's involved. Or you need to make clear disclaimers on every mask. That you are not putting forth a medical device for the sake of health. It's something you have to do.
So here's the time I always say, desperate times calls for desperate measures.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, like, I have great clients that take care of me. I have, I'm still working on orders right now. And luckily, I am blessed to say that orders are still coming in. So those designers that, let's just say we're on the same playing field, making those masks, is it really to help the people or is it for publicity? Like, how do you really feel about that, Sergio?
See, you say this.
The messiness of it all, Sergio. If you give me a dog look, if you just sign up, let me be your attorney. Tell you take the fifth on that, but you go
ahead. I'm going to speak on me personally, just because. Okay. That's what media training says. When you get a mess of questions, take it back to yourself. So that's what I'm going to do.
It ain't messy.
I mean, I'm going to be 100 with you. I want to be a designer of clothing. I'm not in it to make money. I'm not trying to jump anybody. I'm not trying to, I'm in it to make money, but if I wanted to do something just to make money, I would have went to college to be a doctor. It's just not, something. I'm not going to do anything that I don't want to do to make money. That's just me, personally.
Right.
So That's the first point about not making the mask. The second point is, if I couldn't make the mask and give them away for free, I wasn't going to do them, because I feel like that was the purpose of when everybody started doing the mask. They, wanted to try to do something because it was a void in the market, and we wanted to give stuff away. And then, like, pretty much everybody who started off doing it that way has transitioned into selling them. And I do have a personal friend that he started doing them for the hospitals or whatever, and he really wasn't looking to make money off of them. And then he started getting requests for people from personal to make them.
I get a ton of requests.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and he's not, to be honest, he's not really, he doesn't really have a big brand, so he doesn't really have like to think about, okay,
that's right.
If I'm making masks now, I'm taking away time from the business that I need to really be trying to figure out how I can hold on to. So he really could stop doing everything that he was doing to focus on making masks. I couldn't do it. I didn't have that luxury. But I do, and I will say, and even if you're taking masks or whatever, I do feel like a lot of people are doing it as opportunists or looking at this as this is their time to shine. This is their time for the fashion community to really look at them in a more positive light. So they're using it as that. And I'm just not about that. Like,
Juanita, how do you feel about it?
I absolutely agree. And let me say this. There are people out here who are making masks and have every good intention, are coming from a genuine place. We are at Dress for Success in London. I founded that organization. I still chair the board. We're partnering with a designer, a local designer, minority-owned designer there. She makes handbags, leather goods, and she shifted and started making masks for people, for our clients. We're partnering with her. It's through the Links Incorporated. There's my hairdresser in Indianapolis, where I used to live. She used to sew, just knows how to sew. She shifted because she wasn't doing hair and just said, guys, I know you don't have any masks. If you need them, here they are. She's not really advertising. I think it costs like $5 or something. I ordered some because my mother and my sister couldn't get masks, and I couldn't mail them out from Taiwan. It's against the law here to mail masks out of the island. There are people who are genuinely trying to help, and that is a great thing. My lens, it's again, I totally agree. It depends on your motive. And here's the thing. We can't get inside people's heads to know why they're doing what they're doing, but we know how it feels. I'm just going to keep it real. And when it feels weird sometimes when you're doing stuff just for publicity. I'm just going to go on and say it so nobody else has to be messy because I'm not a designer, so I can just say it. It feels strange when, your everything has to be on the internet. You're photo opping it for if you're going to do it, sometimes you can just do it. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be for a photo opportunity or for a post opportunity. There are so many people out here who are helping other people, and it feels different. I think we can trust our gut to know when something is genuine, and to know when it shifts to being an opportunist behavior. Some people did start out with genuine feelings, or genuine intent. And there are a lot of people out there that are still doing it as a brand. Depending on where your business is, if you want to open yourself up to that type of risk, you need to think about that.
And for because for me, I do truly believe what's for me is for me. And I remember when my manager called me, was like, "Oh, you need to start selling these masks." I was like, "No, if that is the price, if that's the price of being rich and making it really, really big on a level of Versace or Oscar de la Renta, I'm gonna buy out gracefully. And when I meet my maker, we'll talk about that later." I just couldn't do it. I just really couldn't do it. And I have a friend that I understand her reasoning. She sold over $10,000 worth of masks. And she gives a lot of masks away for free. And she had an entity call her that was like, "Hey, I want you to donate some masks. I want you to donate 1,000 masks, but I want to put it on the news and we're going to link you." And she was like, "No, I don't want to do it." She was just like, who's going to make, I have to pay people to make these masks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So she decided just to opt out of the whole thing. And for me personally, I've given out hundreds of masks for free, but I have not once put it on Instagram, Facebook, nor Twitter. It's just, I just don't understand it. But before we go on, we got to pay the bills. So this is for Philip Ashley Chocolates out of Memphis, Tennessee. If you guys like to promote your brand, you can just DM me inbox me or email me at info@houseofchappelle. He's a luxury chocolate. He's my fraternity brother. He graduated from Middle Tennessee State University. So if you guys would like to promote, and he actually customized this for my customer appreciation dinner, which my logo and his, and I'm telling you, I ate all the chocolates already.
It's an empty box. You're showing us.
Yeah, it's an empty box, girl. I ate them up all today. So, so the thing is, Sergio, you showed at Fashion Week, right?
Yes.
Your first time showing.
Yes.
As I see. I wasn't gonna miss it for the world. I'm not even gonna say that y'all put me on the second row in my white suit. You know how your daddy showed up to graduation with his Stacey Adams suit on and his brim hat. Baby, I was like, oh, my children, baby, my children. I was on the second row, but it's okay. It's okay.
No, you wouldn't stand there if it was.
It's okay. It's okay. But it was a moment. It was a moment for me sitting there just from the time that I met you and the time now having. I think we lost you, Juanita. Okay, we got you. Okay.
I gotta stop touching.
It was a moment for me. Because I showed at Fashion Week several times, and I understand having a lot of people there, but having a million people there versus having 5 people there that really know what's going on. I was like, I'm going to make it a point to be at Sergio Hudson's fashion show, and it was before the virus went crazy. So where do you think Fashion Week will be going forward?
Well, let me go back. So I'm gonna just touch on. So, cause see, I don't want y'all thinking I threw Reco on the second row because I was being shady. I honestly did not believe you were gonna come, but when I tell you, like the night before that show, I was up in the hotel with the team, not my team, the PR team that ran the show, and I was like fighting for seats. And they were like, is he coming? Is this person coming? Is this person coming? I want this seat. They were like, the seats were like, it was the craziest thing I ever saw in my life. Like, I never experienced that. And I was like, hold his seat. I'm not sure if he's coming, but hold his seat because I don't want him to come and not have a seat.
Right.
And so it was like the craziest thing I ever experienced in my life. And at a certain point, I just gave it up and I was like, y'all deal with it. I'm done. So
right.
I apologize for that. Next time you'll be
okay. I had a seat though. It's okay.
But the future of fashion shows, to be honest with you, I don't know. I do believe it's going to come back. But I don't know if it'll be a fashion week I know it's not going to be one in September, and I'm not sure about next February. But whenever it comes back, I'm sure it's going to be a slow build up to where it's going to go back to being like smaller showcases, kind of like how they used to do in the early 90s. And I just feel like it's going to be like more of a white room, less people, and just really focused on what it's supposed to be for the actual business of it, which is what I would really prefer. So that's whatever I'm not going, because like when you put on a show at Fashion Week, I didn't really, especially when you're on the schedule and like the whole board of IMG is sitting at your show and BMW, like you have to put on a show. And I didn't realize how serious it was until I entered into planning the show. And it's a lot of pressure. And it's like up until the time I drove up to the show, I wasn't sure if people were going to show up because like the PR team was telling me, you know, we have 300 people on the waiting list. And I'm like, okay, y'all just saying that to make me feel good about
Sergio, it was a mess at the door. I got there early. I'm a time thing. I'm a time person. I got there early. It was a beautiful mess.
Yeah,
it was
I just didn't believe it. I was like, these people don't know who I am. Like, what do you mean all these people coming to the show? So I thought they were just trying to make me feel good until I actually looked on the camera and saw it was packed. And before I pulled up, I saw the people around the block. I was like, okay, this is for real. It's happening. So I would prefer it be smaller. Like that was too much for me. honestly.
So let me ask you this. You know, you dress from anywhere from Michelle Obama to Kim Kardashian to Taraji P. Henson to you have dressed. We've shared a lot of the same clients, but when I mean to tell you, you have superseded of megastars. When you really like sit back, because I was like, I'm going to be in a room because I wanted to be in a room with um Taraji P. Henson and all them other girls. How do you feel like them girls? They just was not, their presence was not at your fashion show.
Well, I mean, most of them weren't invited, so it wasn't like.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just,
right.
I'm a I'm an honest person, and I invited the people who I know, and then you have to understand as well, like it was the Oscars was 2 days before my show in LA.
Right. Okay.
Like I had people that like Gabrielle Union and Tracy Ellis Ross that I did invite because we have personal relationship. And they sent me messages back and were like, oh, I can't come because of this or because of that. So, but I invited the people that I knew that really supported me. And to be honest, in this industry, you have relationship more so with stylists than the actual celebrity. I mean, I know that's how my career has gone. I know it's a little bit different on the East Coast because, in Atlanta, you actually have direct connection to the celebrities there. It's a little,
we do.
It's a little less pomp and circumstance over there. But,
right.
I don't really have a relationship with a lot of those people that I've dressed. I have a relationship with their stylists. And a lot of the stylists were there and some of them didn't come. But I didn't really care. It wasn't like, you get a hard, thick skin in this industry dealing with people and understanding that it's a business and it's nothing personal. And a lot of the people in the industry are soulless and heartless, and they don't really need anything from you. If they don't need something from you, then they don't do nothing for you. And it is what it is. So once you learn that and you get over it, it's like, okay, whatever. That's how I kind of operate.
Right. So Juanita, give us a background on your involvement with Dress for Success London, and we're gonna switch the gears up for a minute.
Sure.
Dress for Success London versus Dress for Success here in America, and how you're migrating from overseas to here. Because for those who don't know, we're from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Very, very humble, but very humble beginnings, child.
Very.
from Gaz working, she working at Gazoo's and me working at DJ's.
Yes.
Yes, and like
honey. I worked at Gazoo's, yes.
And we literally
in the mall.
We literally have taken care of each other for the past 92 to what? What's that? Y'all do the math. What's that? Over 20 something years, over 25 years?
Yeah, probably over 25. I've known you since you were in the 9th grade. So
yeah,
I mean,
so
from childhood.
Yeah.
So
and so she's her involvement with Dress for Success is like major, and she's honored people from a queen to having a shoe line with the niece of Jimmy Choo. So go ahead and tell us about your involvement with Dress for Success and how you plan to implement it in here in America.
Sure. I'll back up and just explain for those who are watching that may not know what Dress for Success is. But Dress for Success is a nonprofit charity organization, and they use fashion to empower women, which is everything that I'm about. So it can be donated clothing, end of the line clothing. We have a lot of partners with different retailers. We just inked a deal with Gucci, from Gucci to Burberry to Net-a-Porter, Farfetch, everything, because fashion is one of those industries that's probably one of the largest contributors to pollution. So everything that's end of the line that gets burned. I was in Harvey Nichols when I first started out in London. I lived in London. Let me back up. I lived in London for almost 5 years. So when I was there, I've been a volunteer with Dress for Success for almost 10 years. Started out in the U.S. and we give women interview clothing, interview training, unemployed women. A lot of our clients are from domestic violence situation, a lot of, especially over in Europe, a lot of human trafficking survivors. and just any woman who's looking to go back into the workplace. And so I was standing in Harvey Nichols in their warehouse and it was in suburbs way out in London. And it was just like this huge room of all these designers, and everything was going to be burned. So they were just like, come in, take whatever you want. And they were amazed at the one thing that I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. It's such a great find. Were like the bras and underwear and undergarments. Because if a woman doesn't have interview clothing in her closet, she probably doesn't have, the foundations and some other stuff. And that's hard to find because nobody wants to show donated undies. So, that's probably one of the biggest finds for us. But I started out as a volunteer years ago, and it's just a example of sometimes when you're giving, you really do get from giving. And sometimes whether you believe in God, I'm a believer, but God, universe, whatever, will posture you when you are just doing you and you're giving and you're serving other people. It'll posture you to be in the right place at the right time. So the worldwide CEO, Dress for Success, is like 150 plus affiliates all over the world. We're like the McDonald's of charities. So it's like 155 affiliates all over the world, 33 countries. We're everywhere. Wow. And so she called me and asked me to restart the affiliate in London. There were some legal issues, and she knew that I was a person to call to untangle all of that. And I became the founder of the Dress for Success Greater London affiliate. I've been chairing that board now for almost 6 years. And then during this pandemic, because this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I was like, okay, I poured out. I've done so much in London. We had a partnership at one point in time with the British Fashion Council. Like, we've done it all. And rightfully so, because we use fashion to empower women in a very impactful way and to help the fashion cycle. So we are fashion sustainability at its finest. But I looked around and I said, I'm helping all these people in London, and a lot of women that we serve are, minority, very diverse population, because London is that kind of place. But I thought about, what can I do for my hometown right there in Chattanooga? There are women, in my city, in my neighborhood, that need these services, that need help. So I started about a year ago, because it takes about a year to get approval. They have to believe in, the area. I don't know if they believe in Chattanooga that well, quiet as it's kept, because Chattanooga, we had a Dress for Success and it failed. Yeah, I don't know who was involved. It was years ago. Wasn't me. So I had to convince them that it was a good idea. And we were supposed to launch in March, April. Wow. And then the virus hit. And so I was supposed to be in Chattanooga. And I was going to spend like 2 weeks there helping them launch. And we couldn't get together. We have a free building. Reco's going to design it for us. We were supposed to do all these great things. And then the virus hit. So we said, okay, well, what can we still do? Because women still need our help. A lot of people aren't hiring right now. But a lot of what we do is the interview training and confidence building and workshops. So there are a lot of webinars that we're doing. We launched virtually. We were the first affiliate to do a virtual launch. We are helping women get signed up for a lot of our classes, webinars. Reco, I'm gonna need you to come on board and teach us about body symmetry and line and dressing for your body type.
So you're just gonna put me on blast like that on air, but okay.
Oh yeah, you're gonna do that. You're gonna do that. All that time I never billed you for them legal fees. Or you gonna owe me a solid on that one. We gonna get a webinar. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna teach the girls. You're gonna teach the girls like you taught me how to dress for your body. And so, those are the type of things that we're doing to impact women still using fashion all over the world. But it's interesting because a lot of our partnerships that we had in place or we're working on with a lot of fashion houses, they haven't stopped. I think, to Sergio, to your point, it will slow down for right now. Yes, September is done. Maybe there'll be a lot of virtual fashion shows as it may be spilling over into February, depending on where we are, because vaccines take time. Vaccines and treatments. I'm not a vaccine person, but vaccines, treatments, medicine takes time. But a lot of the fashion houses and companies, they're not pessimistic. They're realistic as to where it is, how it's going to affect them. And it has affected everybody, mainly because of that supply chain, because a lot of people were relying on China for many things. And so when that gets impacted, it is what it is. But we haven't seen a decline in people saying that they will support us, and the partnerships that we had in place are still there. Conversations are still going forward for 2021. No one's discussing anything for 2020, but 2021 still discussing.
Right, right. So before, because we've been on here for about 45 minutes now. In closing, where does it leave Black fashion? Because this whole live is about the state of Black fashion. Does it I'm asking, I'm gonna start off with Juanita.
Yeah.
Does it create an equal playing field? Because it's kind of, the virus has put a dent in the system of the Gucci, the Chanel, the Hermes. Does it equal the playing field, or do you think it's going to return back to normal, as they're going to be over there and we're not going to be able to sit at that table,
Mm-hmm.
or or is it going to return? Is it going to return? Is it going to be? Are we going to be on an equal playing field, or is it going to return to the same, as you have that group and you have us over here?
Sure. I'll speak from my lens, and I'm glad that Sergio will close this out, because I think it's a good topic from a designer's lens to close this question out. But I think where it will land will totally depend on the consumer, and whether or not we've changed our mindset, and how this has impacted us as a people, how we think, how we spend, how we lead ourselves out of this, because it is consumer driven. And while it has impacted maybe larger brands from that supply chain perspective, and even as Black designers, and thinking about how you single sole source some of your suppliers, long term, life will resume. We're all going to operate in a new norm right now. Wearing masks and social distancing will continue for a time being. But where Black designers and Black fashion ends up is where we end up as a people in our mindset. Whether or not we're still out here trying to stunt and pretend and buy overpriced brands, or whether or not we really, and this is as a whole, whether or not we really put value in the fact that we died more than any other group in this virus in this season, how that impacts our mentality, and whether or not we take a shift from individualism that has never served us to collective. We are stronger together. It's like the African proverb: if spiders come together, they can tame a lion, and have a web around a lion. If we come together and get the mindset that we need to buy Black, then it's a perfect opportunity for us to take a look at. But that's systemic across every industry, across life. So I hope that we change. I ordered this from you, and I'm very conscientious of who I put on my back, and in whether or not we make the conscious decision, even if we would just shift 60% of what we wear as Black designers, it would make such a huge impact. I'm gonna put on Reco Chapple, wear my little nasty Chanel brooch, because Chanel ain't never done nothing to me yet. But 60%, but if she does, I felt a certain way about Gucci. That's a whole nother live. We talk about that later. But I love our partnership that we're doing with Dress for Success. Put that out there too.
Yeah, lawyer.
I'm just saying, just saying. But if we as consumers, as Black consumers, and that Black doctors, Black lawyers, Black grocery stores, Black boutiques, Black shoes, if 60% of our income, if we were to dedicate 60% of our spend to Black, we would shift the whole world. That's all I have.
Right. So Sergio, feed us knowledge.
Well, I will say this. I believe, as you said, it's up to the consumers, but at the same time, it's up to the consumers. And you know me, Reco, I preach this all the time when we're in our private conversations talking about the industry. I feel as though we as Black designers have to take some responsibility, and I know the biggest problem in fashion, I could do like a whole college course on this. The biggest problem in fashion is the biggest thing you need is money. And we know this all goes back to slavery, where we don't have a source of money that can feed us. And I hate to use like cliches, but we don't have the rich uncle. A lot of Black designers don't have a rich uncle to fund them to be able to do a fashion week show, to hire a sales team. You really have to, you take Brandon Maxwell. He came out one season, the next season he was in every major retailer in the world, and he has one of the biggest brands now. Because when he out of the gate, he hired the best PR team, he hired the best sales team out of the gate, which cost millions of dollars to do. So we as a people have to say, okay, Black people with money, not just don't just purchase Black designers' clothing, but invest in Black designers. Like understand, like if it's so many Black investors out there that don't invest in Black designers. And it's the craziest thing, like you would be surprised how many brands are funded by Black people that are not, the brand is not owned or run by a Black person. So that's the biggest thing. It's more than just purchasing. The purchasing part could really, but we have to be realistic. Black people, they like to see Gucci. They like to flash, and it is what it is. And I personally don't have anything against Gucci personally at this point, but it's not just Gucci. And I think that's what people have to understand. Gucci got caught, but it's not really their fault because we as Black people have not taught them how to treat us and how to value us as a consumer. So that's the biggest problem I see in the market when it comes to, it's not enough of us out there and it's not enough of us trying. So I feel like Black designers have to really say, okay, I need to step my quality up. I need to step my game up and stop surrendering to whatever people want me to make and whatever people want me to do so I can pay my bills. And that's the biggest problem I see out there. It's not that people don't want to accept us, is that we don't have the money to get into that club and we don't have the money to play the game. So if we as Black people begin to say, okay, instead of me buying this Gucci belt, I'm going to buy this Sergio Hudson belt. If 1,000 people did that, do you know how much I could do with that? I could hire another sales team to be able to get me into the next level of sales that I need. And that's how I don't think people are really realizing that it's a domino effect. If you just make the simple choice, and it's even with the Black celebrities, they don't understand how much power they have because we're like one of the smallest demographic of people in the United States, but we run the trends for the entire fashion industry. Gucci is what it is now because of us. Period. People want those Chanel pens because Black people started wearing them. Period. It is what it is. Like, it's not, when Black people do something, everybody else follows suit. So if Black people were to say, okay, we're wearing all Black designers, and I'm not saying like you got to wake up one day and say everything in my closet, like I can't wear no Chanel, I can't wear no Gucci, I can't, because that would be untrue to me because I'm a fan of all these designers. If you look at my library that's right over here, you will see it's so many books on fashion designers. But mix it up. Say, okay, I'm going to wear the Sergio Hudson belt over my Chanel jacket. Like, treat us like you treat the other designers. Like, don't discount them, but don't discount us either. And that's my biggest thing that I want to get out there for people to understand. We're not saying you wrong if you don't wear all Black designers. But you are dead wrong if you can afford to buy luxury clothing and you don't buy any luxury Black designers. You dead wrong. That's the period, the point, and the blank, the end. So we have to step it up as a people and support our own. And that's just how I feel about it.
That was extremely powerful and well said from the both of you guys. So in closing, and just to let you young designers know that, you know, because a lot of people always say, oh, well, Reco, why you're not doing this? Like, I strategically plan things and do things at a certain way now because my brand is not that brand 10 years ago where I can just say whatever and do whatever. And now I really, because I have the 4-year-old kids looking at me, and I have the college students looking at me. So I really, 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 really focus on what I do next. And one of the things that you have taught me, Sergio, is to wait. Is to wait. That if you put a $500 or $1,000 dress or a $2,000 dress, they will eventually buy. And we may not eat the best that day. We may not drive the best, or we may not have the best living situation, but that time is going to come.
Yeah.
And even Juanita, you have taught me that don't be so rush to do things. Make sure things be at a legal standpoint to where nobody can circle around and come sue you. Because I always call you, I'll be like, girl, they are trying to sue me again, girl.
And the first thing I'm like is, well, what's your contract say?
Right. Well, what's
what
your
terms and conditions say? Where are they?
Right. And so in closing, Juanita, what would you tell a young designer? And you was there, one of my first clients at Tennessee State University. What would you tell a young designer getting to this industry in this certain time, in this crazy time? What advice would you give that designer?
I would, two things. I would first say, from a holistic perspective, start the way you're going to finish. And that means, obviously, from my lens, you need to start your business and understand that while this is your passion, it is a business. And you need to attend to your business and never neglect that side. And I know it's hard, because I'm a whole brainer. So I'm equally right and left. I'm a creator, also a creative. And I understand that sometimes when it comes to the passion, you just want to get it out there. You just want to create because you can't keep it in. I get it. But it's so critical for you to start the way my grandmother used to always tell me, that start the way you're going to finish, baby.
Miss Tinker.
Yes, Miss Tinker. Yes. From Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I think it's just important that you have your entity structure right. Understanding the importance of your IP rights. You can't necessarily always help when someone knocks off your design, but sometimes you can. And so you need to have people in place. And I know it's hard. It's hard in the beginning because that takes money. And it goes back to what Sergio said. You don't always have the rich uncle or somebody to finance or to invest in you. We won't get life insurance and use those type of financial vehicles the way other communities will. We just don't always have that. But any way that you possibly can. It's the reason why I'm starting my contract template for creatives out there, because we need to be able to have access to these type of materials. Not only have access to them, because I had a friend that had a PhD and she was trying to fill out one of my templates, and I was like, just fill it out. And she was like, I don't know what a lessor or a lessee is. Like, who is that? I'm doing videos to explain it as well, because a lot of my creative friends, you can't afford $350 an hour to do a startup, but you still need leave me alone, Rico. But you still need to do it. So my advice, twofold. One, start the way you're going to finish. Make sure you have the business foundations right. And then two, be very strategic about your supply chain. And by your supply chain, I mean your resources, how you are sourcing for your collection, how you're sourcing for your looks. Because as we've seen, when it all goes well, it's great. And I'm not an don't use Chinese, suppliers. I'm not anti-China. My acting coach is in China. I have many friends here. I don't believe in racism on any level or any form. That's a whole nother conversation. But I do think you need to be strategic about your sourcing options and really take a look at that, because, I bought a waist trainer from somebody back in February, and I haven't gotten it yet because she hasn't gotten it, so I'm just saying your supply chain can be so critical, because in these times, if you can't create, similar to what Marc Jacobs says now, he can't get fabric out of Italy. If you are sole source means you have one supplier for all of your material. that can be a dangerous thing. But again, that's looking at sourcing is a strategy, looking at the business, not just the creative side. And you need to be able to learn about that. You can't always pay somebody to consult on that, but YouTube University exists. You just need to be mindful to take the time to educate yourself about the business of your passion. That's it.
Right. So, Sergio, what great words are you going to leave us with?
To young designers, I would say know your craft, know your business, and study before you enter this business.
God, yes.
Make a plan of how you're going to navigate your way through this industry. If you can, speak to somebody like me, speak to somebody like Reco, speak to somebody who's been there and done that, or even people who didn't make it doing it, learn what they did that was wrong. I think the biggest problem that I see with a lot of young Black designers is they don't know about this industry. All they know is the glitz and the glam, and they know they want a piece of it. And they don't understand that it is a business. And then when they get in the business and they can't get what I have or what Reco has or what Mark Jacobs has or, whoever has, they don't understand why, and they get angry. You have to know going into this business that we are at a disadvantage. The fact of it is people do not expect Sergio Hudson to make ready-to-wear luxury clothing. They expect me to make hoodies, jumpsuits, jeans, boots. I mean, that's what they expect from me. So when you enter and that's why it's so, and I know this is a whole nother conversation, but it's so many designers out there that are successful, that are of color, but they all make those types of clothing.
Right. We just not that person.
I'm not doing it. Like, I mean, I could with my eyes closed because that's what I wear. That's what I wore growing up. But it's just not how I see fashion. So I think the biggest problem with that is you have to go into the industry knowing what you want to do, what part you want to be in, and don't switch it because it's not easy. Mm-hmm. Determination is the determined designers are the designers that are still standing at the end of the day. So go in and especially take the advice that she gave you. Be about your business from the beginning, because trying to play catch up on business is not easy. Trying to go back and do back tax returns is not easy. Trying to go back and get your trademark after you already done made a brand for yourself is not easy. So you should do it from the beginning. And I'm telling you that from experience. Like,
I got you on that one too. Okay.
So it's like, go in with this is a business first, and then take a step back and say, who do I want to be as a designer? Who do I want to sell to? And who do I want to be? And if you do that, I promise you, and your work ethic, work hard as you can, while you can, you're going to make it. And I just, that's my opinion on that.
You guys, it was, because this conversation can go on for hours.
Yeah.
Like
we really do need a part two.
Yeah, me and Sergio have conversations for hours and hours, because we didn't touch on about money. We didn't touch on about funding. We didn't touch on about a lot of things that we could. And me and Juanita be on the phone for hours talking about contracts and legal things, because that's just what our conversation is about. We didn't talk about traveling. We didn't talk about what inspires us. We didn't talk about none of that. So I'm going to leave all of you guys with this. Thank you guys for tuning in. Never stop growing. Never stop trying new things. Sergio, I love you to absolute pieces. We shared me and Sergio pretty much moved to LA at the same time. We didn't even get to talk about family. And
fashion takes over everything.
Say that again.
Fashion takes over everything.
Yeah, it takes over everything. And I'm so flexible because I don't have the families like you guys do. you know. Juanita's, I'm calling her. She's getting her kids together in the morning. She's getting her daughter ready. Her daughter is becoming a woman, and her husband is going to work and flying to this country to that country. And I think, sir, your family now is in LA, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I remember a time when you was not with your family.
Mm-mm.
And thank you guys for being a listening ear. I hope you guys learn from this video, and I will see you guys next Thursday while we are on quarantine, honey. And I can't even take off this hat because, baby, when I tell you I look like the beans don't burn in the kitchen.
Took a whole lot of Turian is what you gave me yesterday when you took that beanie off.
Right, right. I'm giving you very George Jefferson right now.
Very.
So thank you guys very much. We're going to continue this because I think I wanted to put you guys on here first because I knew that what you guys had to say, it will make an extreme difference. And if a lot of people, if people are ever questioning, like, Reco, how are you doing it? Where, like, what are you doing? Like, how are you maintaining? This is why, because I have great relationships with designers such as Sergio, with designers such as Cutto, with designers such as Jetacom, which is a lot of designers across the U.S. And plus, I have friends in great high places that we just had wonderful relationships since day one when we first met. When she looked like a little bobblehead at Brandon High School.
Yeah.
So, you guys, that is all today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for logging on. Make sure you like and subscribe and you share this video, and visit houseofchappelle.com. Thank you guys. I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.